So this story was about the same time that last one happened. That fight with the fake Crips. So it was same year, 2001. I was 19. I think it happened after the Crip fight. Well, about to be a Crip fight, but no. So when I was living in Georgia, I'd been there for about a year, and I grew up, like in the East Coast, New York, Jersey, Puerto Rico. We're going to high school in Puerto Rico, obviously on the East Coast. But what I'm trying to say is, I was around different people, right? Different cultures. Whereas the South, unless like you're in a major city, let's say like Atlanta, you won't really see a lot of diversity. If you go outside the city, it's just white or black. That's pretty much what it is. Obviously, I'm talking about a time that was 20-something years ago, so yes, things have changed. But, I mean, I would assume even present day, like if you're not in a major city in the South, it's probably just going to be black or white people. And then, other than that, everything is general. And, well, at least they generalize things. If they see a Hispanic, they don't think about Puerto Rican, Cuban, Colombian, Dominican. You're Mexican, Same thing if you're Asian. They don't care. Japanese, Filipino, Korean, you're Chinese. That's just how they see it. So, just to give you an understanding of like where I was at with these people, in this part of Georgia, where they were kind of closed-minded and not, I guess, cultured. Weren't it wasn't diverse. It was white or black, and anything else they just generalized. So I'm at work one day, and this chick comes in. And the coworker, I'll say his name is Brad. She comes in and she's like, hey, is Brad here? White girl, right? And so I was like, yeah, he's in the back. I'll go get him. So I go in the back and say, hey, Brad, there's a girl up front who wants to talk to you. So he goes up there, talks to her 5-10 minutes. I'm still in the back. He comes back there laughing. I was like, what you laughing at? He's like, that girl, oh man, she had me tripping because she was like, who's that boy? And I said, who you talking about? And she's like, that light-skinned black boy. He said, what light-skinned black boy? The one that came and got you, the one right there, him. And he was looking at me and goes, what? He's not light-skinned black, he's Puerto Rican. And she's like, oh, I thought he was a light-skinned black boy. So, I don't know what the fuck made her think I was a light-skinned black kid. And I understand, I don't look white. I'm Puerto Rican, right? Especially with my facial hair. I understand, like, that really makes me look Hispanic. At the time, I didn't have facial hair, right? I rocked like a low fade, no facial hair. So I don't know if she was just like looking at my lips or whatever features she saw, because sorry, most white people have no mouth. Okay, I got full lips, so she was like, oh, full lips must be a black dude, because most black people have full lips. But I'm light-skinned, so she just associated, oh, light-skinned black kid. I have no clue what the fuck she thought, but she thought I was a light-skinned black kid, all right? Anyways, back to this kid, Brad, right? Just to show you, like, this is what this chick thought. He was friends with her. A couple months later, this is an issue I had with him. It was just me and him and an assistant manager who was about our age, 18, 19 years old. And this kid was in the office. And I remember I came like off a break or something when I see on the counter and there's this food, and I'm, it's just sitting there and no one's coming to get it, and there's like one guy in the store. So I'm looking at him, he's got no food, and there's food and there's no person. So I'm like, is that his? Like, what's up? Why is he just sitting there? So I go back there and I was like, hey Brad, whose food is that up in the front? He's like, oh, it's a Mexican guy over there. So I go back to the front and I'm looking around for a Mexican guy, and the only guy I see is a Hindu guy, Indian, right? So I'm like, where? That's not him, because this dude is Hindu. Nothing about him, other than his brown skin, would say his features are not Mexican. This guy is, if I said, well, he's Indian, he could have been Pakistani, but that's what I'm trying to say, all right? I go back and I was like, who? He's like, yeah, whose food is this? He's like, oh, some Mexican guy up there. I was like, show me. So we walk up front and he points to that guy, to the Hindu guy. He's like, oh, that guy right there. And I looked at him like, what, you think he's Mexican? I was like, he's Hindu, man. He's Indian. He's like, what? I was like, from India. He's Indian. He's like, man, I don't give a fuck, oh, whatever. And he just walked off. And I was like, hey, bro, for real, you don't know the difference between like an Indian person and a Mexican? And he's like, man, I don't give a shit. They all look the same and blah, blah. He started saying some stupid shit. And I was like, they all look the same. I was like, no, I'm being for real. Because I was cool with the kids. I really want to understand, like, that. What the fuck? You can't tell the difference between brown people? So, that's why I asked him. I was like, you can't tell the difference between India? I was like, that dude's Indian, man. I was like, you really can't tell the difference? And he was like, I don't give a fuck. All y'all look the same. Then I was like, all of us? What the fuck does that mean? He was like, oh, we don't know what that is, fucking spick. I said, what'd you say? He's like, you heard me. And he bent down into like a little refrigerator to grab something. So I was sitting there with my hand cocked back, and as soon as he closed out, bah! Clocked that motherfucker, and we just started fighting. And then that assistant manager kid came out and, broke us up and was like, what's going on? I was like, this motherfucker called me a spick. And he sent that kid outside and then sent me to, put me in the office or something. And I remember he had to call the manager who was off that day. She had to come down because, me and this kid got into a fight. So she asked what happened, and I told him, I was like, there was food sitting up here. I asked who it was. He said it was a Mexican dude. I didn't see no Mexican guy. I called him in front. He points to this Indian dude. I asked him, I was like, you can't tell the difference between Mexican and Indian. Next thing I know, he calls me a spick, so I fucking hit him. And she goes out back to talk to this kid, and she's white too, but she's from like Buffalo. She's from New York, so she's not a Southerner. She's not with that racist shit. So she asked him, she said, hey, did you call him a spick? He's like, yeah. And she said, you don't think there's anything wrong with that? He's like, nope. And she's nothing's wrong with calling that kid a spick. You think that's totally fine? He's like, yep. And she said, okay, so if you were walking down the street and you saw a 6'3", 250-pound black dude, you'd be like, hey, nigger. And he was like, yep. And she said, get the fuck out of my, my restaurant or whatever. And she kicked him out. He went home, and I guess, he had to tell his mom why he's home early. He got fired for calling me a spick. So the mother ends up calling up to the job, getting on the phone with the manager, and the mom was like, hey, did you fire my son? And my manager at the time was like, yeah, I fired him. Well, why'd you fire him for? She said, because he called one of my employees a spick. And the mom said, well, ain't that what he is? And then, fucking hung up on her or whatever. So you can see where he got that from. But that was the type of shit I would fucking deal with out there. It was just ridiculous. But that wasn't the first time, I ever been called a spick. I was 19 there. Probably first time I was called a spick was when I was 10. I heard this multiple times, especially through middle school. It was insane. But I'll get into those another time. But I just wanted to share this story because I know I left you hanging off that last one where I almost got in the fight with those fake ass Crips. And I told you I'd let you know, about this story. This time I actually got into a fight with a kid for being racist with me. So that's it.